missed her so well. Unfortunately, this is not my first time. Videos failed to upload, so hopefully this works out this time. I hope you're having a good night. Other than that, I'm doing my project on the Trail of Tears and the Indian Removal Act. Okay. In 1830, Andrew Jackson signed the Indian Removal Act, which gave the federal government the power to exchange native-held land in the southeast of the Mississippi for land to the west. Andrew Jackson wanted to move all the Native Americans out of the southeast, pretty much, to get them out of that farming area where cotton was being grown, because that was a big part of the economy at the time, and that's what was getting America out of debt. And he and the Native Americans were currently residing there, so that was a solution, and that he saw fit. Clearly, the Native Americans didn't want to leave their home, so the tribe of Worcester went up against Georgia in a court case. But unfortunately, before that, in the winter of 1831, the Choctaw became the first nation to leave its land after applied pressure from the army. But Worcester vs. Georgia takes place in 1832. Indians state that they are a nation within a nation, and from that building point, the court favors on the side of Worcester, stating that Native nations are sovereign nations in which the law of Georgia and other states can have no force. And that was really important because that meant Indians could be a nation within a nation, pretty much. It's self-written, but it supports the Native Americans staying in there, and that they have a right to be there. But Andrew Jackson doesn't really care about that, and he shrugs it off, and he continues to go with the plan. In 1832, the Trail of Tears begins. The 5 civilized tribes residing in the southeastern areas were the Choctaw, Creek, Chickasaw, Cherokee, and Seminole tribes, and the more uncivilized tribes that were also residing there were the Wyandot, the Kickapoo, the Potawatomi, the Shawnee, and the Lenape. All of these tribes combined was approximately 125,000 Native Americans, and they all resided in Georgia, and the majority resided, in Georgia, Tennessee, Alabama, North Carolina, and Florida. But there were some that resided in the Illinois and Wisconsin. And in 1832, the Black Hawk War began between America and the Black Hawk tribe, because the Black Hawk wanted to fight for its land. And so that happens, the Trail of Tears begins, which is a 5,000-mile long journey, which is a cruel and very harsh journey that the Native Americans are going to have to endure. But the worst part about that is weather. Weather is going to be a big factor in how the deaths racked up. Because whenever the weather got bad, you just can't survive that. From malnourishment and just the weather being horrible, people were freezing to death whenever it was winter, and people were dying from exhaustion from whenever it was summer. Mainly the winter was the more causing, like the worst, had the bigger effect on them. There was a case in May 1838 in which Tennessee had captured the Cherokee or rounded them up, and they were put into caves, and they weren't released until October of 1838, which was really, really bad timing for the Cherokee, because that meant they started the trail whenever winter had begun, and that caused a lot of deaths for the Cherokee. And the Trail of Tears had racked up 3,000 to 4,000 approximately from deaths, and which was mainly because of exhaustion and weather. In 1835, there were a few self-appointed representatives of the Cherokee Nation, and they negotiated the Treaty of New Echica. This was a trade that the Cherokee landed east of the Mississippi, roughly 7 million acres, for $5 million. This deal was made mainly for the Cherokee to have relocation assistance, to be assisted into going into the Indian colonization zone safely, and for compensation of lost property. After that occurred, there wasn't. It just continued to occur. It was harsh on the Native Americans, and the thing that made it worse were that the people of America were also harsh on the Native Americans. They would overcharge them. They would put tolls on them. They would, if you're a Native American and you need to cross a certain point and it went through someone's land, they would toll you for that. And if you're a Native American trying to cross a river, they would raise the prices. So if there was an example that I found that there was a Native American tribe trying to cross a river, and they had to pay $1 per ticket rather than 12 cents, which doesn't seem horrible, but putting that into today's money standards, 12 cents is $2, and the Native Americans were paying 22 and change for each ticket, for each person. And that was also very harsh on the Native Americans. All in all, by the 1840, tens of thousands of Native Americans had been driven off their lands in the southeastern states. The government promised their land would never be touched ever again, but that didn't happen. As Manifest Destiny grew, they began to lose the Indian colonization zone. It just shrank and shrank until one day that the Indian colonization zone became the state of Oklahoma. Thank you for your time, Mr. Stilwell. Have a good night or morning or whatever.